Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Camel, but more importantly, welcome back to the Elder Scrolls Detective series, a series in which we investigate, curate, speculate, hypothesize, theorize, and quite often, simply highlight and discuss enthralling, interesting, and hidden things that can be found within the Elder Scrolls games. Today we will find ourselves mulling over an occurrence in Skyrim that I'm sure we have all at one point or another pondered over. A friendship that we benefit from greatly, but is also shrouded in mystery and anonymity. Of course, we will be investigating the curious case of the letters from a friend and who in oblivion that friend is. Now, if you are into this kind of stuff, links to my social media and my other Elder Scrolls detective videos can be found down in the description. Be sure to check all of that out after this video. So, the letter from a friend. Where do these start? Well, once the Dragonborn finishes one of the first main quests called Dragon Rising, in which we fight and defeat our first dragon, absorbing its soul and confirming ourselves as the Dragonborn, after this event, every now and then we'll begin to receive these letters from a friend that always reads the same way, with a few varying values. Dragonborn. You caused a bit of a stir in insert location when you demonstrated the power of your Thum. Not everyone is anxious for the return of the Dragonborn. I, for one, desire to see you grow and develop your talents. Skyrim needs a true hero these days. You should turn your attention to insert location. I understand it holds a mysterious source of power that can only be unlocked by the Dragonborn. Sincerely, a friend. Now, the location of where you shouted will change, of course, and be relevant to where you shouted, and the location of a mysterious power will also be that of a word wall. So whoever is sending us these letters happens to know every time we shout and knows the locations of word walls, which is by no means common knowledge. This would render our friend as an incredibly knowledgeable and or partially, if not fully, omnipresent being. Because of this, many candidates are ruled out of the picture. For both of our sakes, I'm not going to run through everyone that isn't our friend, but for an example, the Ebony Warrior. For some reason, a lot of fans think that the Ebony Warrior is the one sending us these letters and is our secret friend. The motive, of course, being that the Ebony Warrior wants a powerful foe to fight and defeat him in battle so he can die an honorable death. Therefore, he's bolstering the Dragonborn's power by leading them to shout so they become more powerful, but that's about where it ends. The issue of omnipresence and god-tier knowledge of word wall locations is too big of an issue to go unexplained. So we will just be focusing on the big-time candidates in regards to who this incredibly mysterious and knowledgeable friend could be. We'll start with a rather fun theory that I'm adding purely as an honorable fan mention. The first is the Courier. The Courier himself, the guy that delivers us these letters. Why exactly he would have motive to bolster the Dragonborn's power is questionable, and pretty much non-existent. How he would have knowledge of word wall locations is again questionable, and pretty much non-existent. But the Courier as a character does seem to be omnipresent, always knowing where the Dragonborn is at any given time, being able to deliver them a letter. How seriously do we take this power is again up for debate, as there are many NPCs in Skyrim that will just rock up magically knowing exactly where the Dragonborn is at any given time. Are all of these random, uninteresting NPCs all-knowing demigods? Or is it just how the game was scripted and written? We all know the answer to that. So despite the concept being fun and I suppose funny, in actuality the Courier really is not a contender for the mysterious friend sending us these letters. But if you want some juice, let's get on to the next theory. This would have us believe that our secret friend is no one other than the Dragonborn. Yes, that's right, the player character's character from the future. Now, we've seen examples of time travel in a sense, or at the very least, time vision, time alteration, time interference, time bending, whatever you want to call it in the Elder Scrolls games and lore. To name a few, with things like the Psijic Order, the Elder Scrolls themselves, the Wooden Mask of Labyrinthia, a Dragon Break, a Time Wound, or perhaps even something as obscure as Palinor Whitestrake praising Ramen, a name that no one knew yet, at the Battle of Sancrator 2,500 years before Ramen would be born, let alone ruling Emperor. Point being, while time alteration is seldom, it is not a foreign concept to the Elder Scrolls games. Now, I wouldn't dare attempt to explain the exact means of the Dragonborn's time-traveling techniques, but the results are intriguing, if true. And even while time traveling is highly unlikely as an explanation for our mysterious friend, it is plausible. The Dragonborn would have motive to empower him or herself to prepare for the defeat of Alduin, so motive they have. They would also know where in the game the Dragonborn is at any given time, as they have already lived it. Same goes for the word wall locations. They already know where they are because they've already been there. This actually fully explains their complete omnipresent understanding of where the Dragonborn is at any time and how they know where the location of the word walls are. Now this is of course assuming that the Dragonborn from the future who's sending us these letters received these very same letters from their future self when they were experiencing the same timeline the player does in game. So they've got motive and they've got everything else. Every box is actually ticked if we consider for a moment that these letters are coming from ourselves. This would render the player character's fate as a time traveler. Now I find this to be highly unlikely, but the Dragonborn does get up to stranger things in Skyrim, and all boxes are ticked for motive and knowledge. So is the Dragonborn sending themselves signed letters from the future? Possibly. It is actually possible. While we're on the subject of time, let's go on to the Psijic Order. As we know, when we join the College of Winterhold and start the quest line by delving into Sarthal, we will be interrupted at a point by a Psijic monk. Among many things, he says that the Psijic Order believes in us and are placing hopes in the player in preventing disaster in regards to the Eye of Magnus and Ancano. Now later Courier comes to us in person and says this.
And attempts to contact you, as we have previously, have failed.
That he tried to get in contact with us using the same method they did before. Now many people believe he is referring to the letter from a friend. However, he is referencing the vision in which he speaks to us just 2 quests prior. He nor the Psijic Order ever make mention or take interest in the fact that the player character is the Dragonborn, therefore appear to have no investment in aiding the Dragonborn, specifically in increasing their abilities with the Thum. You can also do this quest before even killing your first dragon or receiving the first letter from a friend, which would render his statement irrelevant in our quest to find our mysterious friend. So is it the Psijic Order or any of their members? No, and if it is, no in-game evidence would point towards it. Now this brings up the big issue with most factions, so while we're on the topic, let's rule out most of them here. The College of Winterhold, the Companions, the Thieves Guild, the Dark Brotherhood, the Stormcloaks, the Imperials, the Volkir Vampires, and the Dawn Guard. Look, whether you join all of them or none of them, many or few, complete or ignore all or any of their quest lines, you will still continue to receive these letters from a friend. Now, while this applies to all factions in the game, the aforementioned ones never show any interest or even acknowledge that we, the player character, are in fact the Dragonborn. Now this is important because of course these letters from our friends empower us specifically as the Dragonborn, not just a random hero. Now this naturally highlights that our friend that's sending us these letters does not appear to have any allegiance to any of the factions previously discussed. And with that, are any of their members keen on seeing a Dragonborn rise for their course? It would seem not. Now the Blades and the Greybeards, however, do appear to have a great interest in not only you, but you as the Dragonborn, unlike the other factions who just want someone to do their quests. So I suppose we'll go alphabetically. We'll start with the Blades. They wish to see us become a more powerful Dragonborn so that we can kill more dragons in their name for their cause, which was the original purpose of the Blades in the first place anyway. But in particular, and specifically to Skyrim, the Blades want us to put an end to Alduin's attempts at ending the current Kalpa cycle, or for the Nechumen for ending time. Now with the Blades having been abolished, no thanks to the White Gold Concordat that the Dopey Empire agreed to, the Blades now must exist in hiding. So initially, for the Blades to be sending the Dragonborn anonymous letters just like the ones we received from our friend does make perfect sense. Also, rather interestingly, when we are sent by the Greybeards to retrieve the horn of Jurgen Windcaller, the horn is not there, but instead, in its place, there is an anonymous note, which is signed a friend. Sound familiar? Well, soon after, we are led to the Sleeping Giant Inn in Riverwood, where we meet Delphine, who reveals...
Surprised? I guess I'm getting pretty good at my harmless innkeeper act.
Now ain't that something? So Delphine has motivation, she is a blade and therefore wishes to see the Dragonborn become more powerful so they can slay more dragons. She also signs a letter anonymously as a friend, just as our mysterious friend does with the letters from a friend. Now how she knows where the Dragonborn is at any given time, well, I suppose she couldn't know, but that's a question that doesn't necessarily need to be answered, as all courier-based deliveries are shrouded in that same mystery of how the hell did you find me? So how does she have knowledge of where the word walls are? Well, there is no real answer to this, but she does have a map in her secret room which has all of the dragon mounds marked. Now, of course, dragon mounds and word walls are not the same thing, but Delphine clearly has some geographical knowledge of the ancient dragon culture. There are certainly holes in the theory of Delphine being our friend, but she is a strong contender, and a suspicious one given the identical likeness of her anonymous letters being signed off as a friend. She would have reason to do it anonymously because, of course, the blades are being hunted and killed by the Thalmor, and she also has motive. She wants to see the Dragonborn become a bigger Dragonborn. Now on the other side of the blades is the Greybeards, which initially I was like, yeah, of course the Greybeards want to help the Dragonborn become more powerful, but then I sat and mulled it over and I couldn't really think of a super solid reason for the Greybeards to help the Dragonborn, or more specifically for this video, to help the Dragonborn become more powerful with their shouts. So the Way of the Voice is the whole purpose of this ancient religious sect. But apart from the Thum, what is there? They teach us a few shouts, they hand us a few word wall locations, but they also tell us not to use our Thum for power, but instead for meditation and praise of the gods. They tell us not to seek strength with the Thum, but instead knowledge. To use it violently is almost a blasphemous last resort. It gets a little muddled when attempting to analyze their motives in regards to actually helping the Dragonborn. But let's take a look anyway. The Grand Master of the Greybeards, Parthenax, a dragon, which is a child of Akatosh, which is the same place the Dragonborn gets their dragon blood from. It's a blessing of Akatosh. So, if the Greybeards are led by a child of Akatosh, their interests would naturally lie in Akatosh, and surely they would want to help the Dragonborn because our dragon blood is a blessing of Akatosh, and therefore is Akatosh as well. However, Alduin is the first child of Akatosh, and in fact, Alduin is an aspect of Akatosh. Auriel, the birth of time, Akatosh, the body of time, and Alduin, the end of time. To defeat Alduin would be to deny the cycle of Akatosh. As Parthenax explains, who are we to deny the birth of the next Kalpa cycle by defeating Alduin? It's only right that this timeline ends so one can start anew. The Greybeards could lean the other way, like us, and quite reasonably be selfish in wishing to sustain our current Kalpa cycle and defeat Alduin. But weirdly, there isn't really any mention of them being connected to Akatosh. However, the Greybeards' religion connects them to Kine, and they actually recognize us, the player character, as Ysmir. Now, they name us Ysmir, the Dragon of the North. So that could be a solid motive for their help, given you're essentially the Jesus of their religion, right? Anyway, let's move on from the muddled moat of motive and to knowledge. Do the Greybeards have knowledge of where shouts can be found? Yes they do. First of all, they can feel the power of the Thum coming from the word walls, and from this alone, they can locate them. Secondly, they do actually give us locations for shouts, which of course is the exact same information given to us in the letters from a friend. Now this makes them a culprit definitely, but it also makes me think, why would they sign the letter off as a friend, not just their name? What they are doing isn't super secret, they tell us to our face where to find shouts anyway, why be anonymous through a letter? Their ancient order's purpose is to teach the way of the voice. The Greybeards' teaching methods, however, are very controlled, arcane, and celibate of all things interesting. So that is odd and really doesn't match up with what we get in the letters. So in regards to knowledge, the Greybeards are a top contender, but the fashion in which we gain it through these strange anonymous letters truly does not meet up with the teaching of the Greybeards. But let's move on to the divine and the demonic, the Aedra and the Daedra. Let's start with the Aedra. And while we could drum up a list of reasons that every single Aedra would want to help the Dragonborn for some divine purpose, let's get straight to the meat. Firstly, Akatosh, by default, has to be a contender. As we discussed earlier, being the Dragonborn is a blessing of Akatosh, so our existence is Akatosh's will. But again, if Alduin Ending Time is also Akatosh's will, then there is no way Akatosh would want to help the Dragonborn become more powerful, because this could potentially ultimately result in the Dragonborn killing Alduin. So is Akatosh helping us become more powerful to potentially destroy what is natural to his cycle? Probably not. But the other big contender in terms of Aedra, and yes, there are 9 of them, you dirty scoundrels you, is Talos, the god of man. Now it is important to remember that Talos was also Dragonborn, and the Greybeards even call us, the player character, Ysmir, the Dragon of the North, which were other names for Talos himself. Now there are some fan theories that believe that our player character is in fact Talos, if not an aspect of Tiber Septim. So if we were in fact literally connected to Talos in some way, then needless to say, he would want to help us become more powerful. Not only to fulfill a prophecy, but also so his aspect is an absolute unit rather than being some weak little Dragonborn. So both Akatosh and Talos and any other Aedra that you would like to write a theory for, of course, have omnipresent knowledge of where the Dragonborn is and where dragon word walls can be found, explaining how they always get the letter to us and also how they know where shouts can be found. The motive, however, it's a bit muddled and there isn't really any clear evidence either way. But now we get to what I believe to be the most likely theory, the Daedra. More specifically, the Daedric princes. Now just like the Aedra, we could easily drum up a theory backing any of the 16 Daedric princes for them having motive in helping the Dragonborn become more powerful. But there is one that stands out above the rest by far. One that ticks every box and then some. Can you guess? The Gardener of Men, the Woodland Man, the Demon of Knowledge, Hermaeus Mora. Firstly, let us discuss motive. As we know from the Dragonborn DLC, Miraak, the first Dragonborn, has been Hermaeus Mora's pawn for thousands of years, and a valuable pawn at that. But Miraak wishes to be free once again, but sadly is controlled and bound by old Hermaeus Mora. Hermaeus Mora is aware of this and wishes to replace Miraak with us, the player character, a newer, younger, and less wise Dragonborn. Hermaeus Mora even explains this to us. He helps us defeat Miraak, and at the end of the questline we are bound to Hermaeus Mora. And while this doesn't really show in game because being stuck in Apocrypha for the rest of the save file would be pretty boring. Anyway, Hermaeus Mora is of course the Daedric Prince of Knowledge, so would he have knowledge of where these dragon word walls can be found? Yes, of course. And not only that, but he also has an omnipresence and would know where the Dragonborn is at any given time, explaining how the Courier is always able to find us. Now, as I discussed earlier, none of the other questlines really make note or mention of you being the Dragonborn. The only questline that really pays any attention to you being the Dragonborn is the main quests of the base game of Skyrim, and which is the only Daedric prince that we run into during that questline. Let me tell ya, it's Hermaeus Mora. We run into him as the wretched Abyss as we attempt to leave Septimus Cygnus's outpost. So it would appear that Hermaeus Mora has genuinely had an eye on us for a while, watching our powers grow, and very likely even helping us. It would make sense that his servants would sign the letter as a friend, because if we started getting letters of a helpful nature signed from Hermaeus Mora, we'll know something was up. But leaving it as friendly and anonymous, it makes sense, it makes us trust it more. So Hermaeus Mora has motive, he has knowledge, he has omnipresence, and a need for us, the Dragonborn, to become a more powerful Dragonborn. So ultimately, we can serve him. He can replace Miraak with us. Of course, like all of these theories, there is no confirmation here, but if we divulge the information at hand, Hermaeus Mora sure does look like the most likely candidate. But hey, that's not too bad. Who doesn't love a tentacle every now and then? So I do hope that you have enjoyed the journey and the discovery, and I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on these theories or any theories that I have missed. Who do you think the letters from a friend are from? Equally so, I do hope you have learnt something new about the beautifully mad universe that these wonderful games take place in. The Elder Scrolls. Now, if you do have any information, facts, evidence, speculation, theories, or anything to do with the letters from a friend, be sure to comment down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And if you do have any ideas for something that you think I should cover in an Elder Scrolls Detective Series video, be sure to let me know. I'll look into whatever strange and wonderful topic you present. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a kindness and leave a like. Also, leave a comment with your Elder Scrolls Detective ideas and your thoughts on the letters from a friend. And of course, if you did enjoy this video and you would like to see more videos similar to this one, please subscribe. It helps me know that people enjoy these kind of videos and will result in more of them. Now be sure to click the little bell icon next to the subscribe button right here on YouTube so that you are notified when new Elder Scrolls Detective videos are uploaded. My other Elder Scrolls Detective video links can be found down in the description. You can also find links to all of my social media. Be sure to check all of that out. And if you'd like to support the channel in a more personal way, you can become a patron on Patreon or support the channel right here on YouTube with that join button. As I'm sure you know, all of my time and energy goes into making these videos that I create for you to enjoy, so your support is most appreciated and welcomed in any and all forms. So thank you very much for watching, thank you for supporting the channel, and I'll see you very shortly in the next video. I'll see you there. Sincerely, a friend.